windshield. Well, that should do it. I'm about 2 hours away from Cambridge. Well, like if you can see that in the middle, it says next en route centers, and the first one is Newcastle, 76 kilometers, and the second one is Cambridge, 230 kilometers. And there's an en route center, which is a rest area like this, and you see the other one on the other side of this 401 freeway. So that's Montreal is behind me. This way is Toronto and basically west. And yeah, so there's an en route center right before my yacht location. And time now is almost 6 o'clock in the morning, 5:57. I wanted to come home yesterday because I tried to find a load. There was no loads since I don't have a trailer. There was a couple of loads for a trailer actually in Quebec, but nothing for power only. Some Lancer guy had power only from near Montreal, but it was going to Regina, Saskatchewan. And so I called them, and I look in the details, and it says 26-foot empty drive van trailer. What? Basically 26, it's one of those tiny babies, you know, where like FedEx or UPS guys, when they pull double trailers. So one of them, you see, like, okay, on the other side there's a double 53, but it probably will be too hard to see. But this Normandian guy, like they're popular in this corridor. Double 53-foot trailers. How those guys pull them, I'm not sure. That is really, you know, something that requires a skill, which I don't think I have. You need to probably drive like, I don't know, 20 years. But anyway, so yeah, 26 foot. So I didn't even ask him how much that was paying. There's no way I'm going to Regina, Saskatchewan, and then coming back 5,000 miles, you know. Well, it's probably 1,500 miles back home. So I'm tired of driving without a trailer. And I wanted to mention something. In the movie Black Dog, if you've seen this Black Dog movie, it's one of the few movies about truckers, but this is like 80s, right? And the main character, what's his name, that he played in the Road Club, you know, like the fighter, the dancer, and then he died later from cancer. Love that actor. But anyway, in that movie, for some reason, the director decided to make the truck's dashboard look like airplane's dashboard, right? And when he gets inside, he starts flipping switches like for 10 minutes, you know? And he's flipping something here. Like, there's no switches, there's no flaps, right? There's no altimeter. You know, we don't have this stuff. Like, what would I flip on this truck, right? Well, the lights, you know. I'm just doing my e-lock here, sorry. Alright, that's done. Now let's just put the destination in here, and it's saved under, yeah, you see it shows. So I gotta take 407 again. And I finally discovered what it costs. Basically, to go like this, like the GPS wants me to go, from one end of the toll highway east of Toronto to west part, it's basically $110 Canadian, which is about 80 bucks US. And I was wondering why my bill for 1 month, I was doing like those power only, remember those paving equipment? My bill, they sent me a bill for 600 Canadian. And I'm like, are you serious? And so yesterday I finally called them. I said, guys, okay, I want to know how much is it if I jump in Milton, Ontario from 401 to 407 and I drive all the way to 412 and 401. Basically it's about 50 miles, 80 kilometers. And the guy was looking at his computer and then he said, yeah, it's about 112 bucks. And I said, is there any, does it matter? Does it matter what time of the day I'm driving? And he says, yeah, it does. He says, from 10 in the morning, I think till 2, he said, till 2, it's cheaper, and then from 6, I think from 6 till 6 or something like that. But basically, anyway, so early morning and late evening, it's cheaper. And I said, how much cheaper? So the same long, trip, west to east. So if it was $112 before, I said, how much is it gonna be? He says $98 Canadian. I said, wait, so we just saved 12 bucks, that's it? He says, yeah. So it's pretty much same price, just 10%. 10% cheaper to go early morning and after 6, which is nothing. And so yeah, I started to say that in the Black Dog movie, the guy's flipping switches for 10 minutes. But here, like, what do you flip here? The lights, and maybe the Jake brake, right? Like if you wanna, some guys like driving with a brake. And then one more thing you can do is you can set your cruise control, but when you're sitting in the truck and the truck is not moving, like, what's the point? So if you find that movie, check it out. I'm telling you, it's really interesting. But he was driving a Peterbilt in the movie, and the switches were on top here, where I have gauges. But I'm telling you, he was dealing with those switches for, I don't know, 4 or 5 minutes. So anyway, I just wanted to show you guys some night driving. I did this again once, but it's gonna get light sometime today, hopefully, unless aliens stole the sun. But I'm westbound, right? So the sun will rise behind me. So the further I go west, the later the sunrise will be, right? And I don't like driving fast in the dark, so if you can see those magic numbers in the middle, 92 kilometers per hour, so that's 57 miles per hour. it gets light, I might switch to 95 or 97, maybe 100. But what's the point? You know, like, I'm in no rush. I just got up this early because I wanted to be, today's Thursday, so I was checking the load board yesterday when I arrived at that rest area, because it was already like 4 o'clock, and I just decided to shut down. And then I thought I'd shut down, check the load board, and then start again in the morning. And there was a couple of loads that, but again, from my home area, so I have to go and, you know, get the trailer. But there's one interesting load there, like something heavy, and it only goes 500 miles, but it's shipping on, I forgot, October 6th or 8th, basically 2 weeks. I hate these guys, you know, when they have these super bright headlights, it just shines right in your face. And there was another interesting load, like inside Ontario, from one Toronto suburb to another. And I called the lady, and she says, well, it's only 45 miles, but the weight is 72,000 pounds. And I really don't like it when brokers start with that, you know, oh, it's only 45 miles. But then I look at all my miles, like for me from Cambridge, like to leave with the trailer, go there, then get loaded, deliver, come back, that's not 45 miles, that's more like 150 miles. And then she sends me the picture and the dimensions. It's a huge forklift. It's about 13.6 wide and the same height, and so it will need escorts, and it will need a special permit. Like, I cannot use my annual permit for that because this is too big. And I said, well, I'm not gonna hold something, you know, I tried it before, it never works. When you're over 15 feet tall, I said, you probably should take the mast off. And she says, well, there's no mast. The mast has been taken off. And I said, so it's still this tall? And she says, yeah. And then she sends me the picture. Yeah, it's one of those big, super big forklifts that move containers, and it's actually one, I moved the body of that from Alabama, where they make them, a Taylor Works, or Taylor, you know, factory. And if I remember correctly, they ship them without wheels, right? They just ship the frame, and then they attach the wheels at the delivery. Like, the wheels are shipped separately. And so, but you know, over here, like, these people, they don't want to pay for a special tire truck, and then, you know, it's a pretty big wheels, right? So you need like a big tire truck with a small crane, and then you have to reattach them again, and it's not an easy job, you know. And so, and the broker, remember, the broker started by saying, oh, it's only 45 miles. Well, then why don't you do it? You know, if it's only 45 miles, but it's 13.6 wide and 13.6 tall and weighs 72,000 pounds, you know, you should not start with that, with the small distance, because And characteristically, she didn't give me the price. Like I said, what's the rate? Well, I didn't give one to the consignee. I thought I would have you guys give me the price, and then I will pass it over to the customer. And I didn't even bother, I didn't even bother giving her the rate, because it's one of those crazy loads that nobody wants to do. Couple of upgrades on the Challenger, and I ordered the parts, so we'll have to go to Buffalo to get them, but they're not coming until next week. I already talked to the shop, and they said, yeah, sure, just bring her in, we'll install them. And I got an email from the Chrysler dealer in Oakville, where I bought the car, December last year, right? So I have about 10,000 kilometers on the odometer, so 6,000 miles. And it's funny how, as soon as you buy a car, every year they start sending you emails offering you discounts on your next car. Like, what am I gonna do? Like, drive this? It's expensive, right? An expensive car. What, they expect me to sell it after 1 year and buy another one? Like, I've been looking at this, Hellcat, right? Over here in Canada, it's about 75,000 bucks Canadian, which is cheaper than in the States, but still, that's a lot of payments, But if I win a lottery, probably that's what I would do. I would sell this one and get a Hellcat. But these guys are persistent, like, I think they even sent me last year, they started sending me these emails. This time they offer me 2,000 bucks off any car I will pick. Oh boy. But I like this Challenger, very happy with the car, except I still want to fine-tune it, improve the torque, horsepower, stuff like that. Sky starts to look a bit gray, whereas before it was completely dark, but there's no stars. It's all cloudy. I think we're in for some rain. Like, that would be cool, it would clean up the windshield. And people keep asking me about my GPS, the one I see to my right, but that's not a GPS. That's a LG tablet with enabled internet, and I'm just using Google Maps. And some guys say, well, Google Maps don't offer truck routing. Well, yeah, because I don't need that. 90% of the time I have an oversized load, so I have to follow the route on my permit anyway, right? But sometimes it would be helpful to have a you know, truck routing. But I would just check it on the computer on one of those you know, free websites that gives you a practical truck routing, and then just, you know, program it in here, because I can add stops, right? So I can add midway points, and this way Google Maps will send me the way I want to go. But the best feature of this live feed, so to speak, is that I see traffic all the time. You know, if there's a accident ahead or some kind of a, you know, traffic jam, I see it on the screen. It'll show me that, or it'll give me a warning saying that, you know, let's say 8 kilometers ahead there's a slowdown, you know. And quite a few times, like, it gives me like a sixth sense, you know, like I know that after this next curve, for example, there'll be a brake check, right? And so even without seeing the stopped vehicles, you know, I would put on my flashing lights, four-way lights, and start slowing down. And of course people look at me like I'm an idiot, and they pass me at 90 miles an hour, only to slam on their brakes with the smoking tires, you know, like in a couple of minutes. By the way, yesterday there was almost a big accident during the daylight. I'm driving and there's a destruction zone ahead, and there was a curve. Like, we were going, like, now you see the road goes up a little bit, right? But it was going like this, but it was also curving to the right. And all of a sudden I see at the top of the hill before the turn, I see lots of smoke, you know, going in the air, and I see a lot brake lights come on. But again, I cannot see past the curve, like what's going on. But I see like a couple of cars have their lights on and the smoke, you know. And so I immediately hit my brakes to cancel my cruise control, and I put my four-way flashers on, and I started slowing down. And what do you know, we come to a complete stop after the curve, you know, where you cannot see it. And turns out there's one of those construction, you know, vehicles with a big frame in the back that, you know, tells you change lanes. And this idiot just stopped in that lane, in the fast lane, past the curve where people cannot see him, and he has the light, like arrow showing go here, basically bypass him. And so there's one tractor trailer stopped like at a 45-degree angle because the guy was trying not to hit this idiot. Another guy had to go on the shoulder. So like basically two tractor trailers barely avoided that guy, and I'm just passing him, like, you know, and I looked at him just to see if there's anyone in the cab at all, and there's a guy there, and he's frightened, and he keeps looking at his mirrors. But yeah, I would be frightened too, you know. If you stop after the curve where people cannot see you, like, it's crazy. Like, some of these guys, you know, they should use their heads. Basically, he should have stopped much sooner, you know, where people can see him from far away, right? And start slowing down. Instead, you see like this curve. Now imagine there's trees in there. Imagine you're driving and all of a sudden there's a guy in the left lane blocking the entire left lane. Unbelievable, you know, like. And what they were doing, all they were doing is he was blocking the lane because there was a couple of guys changing the sign, like a construction sign on the left, and he was blocking, protecting those two guys, but which is fine, but you should use some common sense. Give people some warning, right? Like, jeez. It's a good thing I was not driving that fast. I think I was doing like 95 k an hour, 59 miles per hour. And I saw, you pay attention, right? I saw that smoke, I saw the brake lights, So, they're not joking when they say that it can be a dangerous job, right? Especially if you're driving the days, daydreaming, you're not paying attention. And that's another reason why I drive slow in the dark is there can be some, deer or some moose, because they like this time of the day, early morning and early evening, because they like going for a walk across the freeway. So I actually should turn on my J brake. You see, like, there's a little cylinder picture shows up on the top left corner. This is level 1 J brake. So as soon as I hit my brakes, the truck will start slowing down. Like, as soon as I cancel the cruise control, even without touching the brakes, my Jake brakes will apply automatically. And that's what I normally do in the dark, I bought a audiobook on MP3, like 2 MP3 discs, and I always look at how much you get for your money, right? It was 14 bucks US, like the book. Basically, it's two books, two discs. So it was $14 US, and I look at the hours, and it said 22 hours, and that sounded like a good deal, Oh, and it started raining. So it's gonna clean up my windshield. So yeah, it's basically a couple of detective novels, and the first one, it's one warning I want to give you guys: be careful when buying unabridged books. Because turns out when they abridge the audiobook, it's quite often they actually make it better, because unabridged, it's like crazy. The guy is talking for 20 minutes about how he feels about a situation, like there's nothing going on. I hate when they do that. Usually female writers like torture readers like that, like there's nothing going on, the plot is not moving, instead characters are talking about how they feel, and it gets boring real quick. And so I finished one unabridged recording, 11 hours, and now I started the second one. It's the same author. And the characters are the same. It's basically, this guy keeps churning out these novels like every year, and it's funny, like I'm listening to the second one, And actually it's interesting that I recognize the events. Like he's talking about past events, like let's say the husband of a lady died 4 months ago, and now we know that this new novel, it's taking place, 4 months after that one, right? So it's kind of cool. Like you meet all the same characters as in the previous novel, but this time they seem to be a bit more active, but there's still a lot of talk. Oh, I gotta start my climate control. See, it starts fogging. But the windshield should be cleaner. That's the good news. But it also, they don't recommend using cruise control on wet pavement. But I'm driving very slow, and so my truck is pretty heavy, right? So it's not like it's gonna start slipping wheels. But in a small car, if you have a small car and it's slippery, might be dangerous to use the cruise control. So basically, as they say, it's all fun and games until somebody gets hurt. Danger in this kind of weather is losing control of the vehicle. Aquaplaning or hydroplaning. No, it's not hydro, sorry, that's Russian. I think it's called aquaplaning, right? Like a hydroplane. This is the last one before that Cambridge one near my my home. But this is the old style. I don't think it's the new one. think it's the old style. And this one is always very busy. Very hard to find parking after like 6 or 7. I don't like this one. That's why I stopped over there much earlier. And you see it's getting lighter. The sky gets more and more gray. And I'm 35 kilometers, what is it, 20 miles from the tollway, from 412, which is the bypass that goes north and then over Toronto. So I'm gonna pay $112. And actually that's why I wanted to mention this. Some companies, you know, they add a premium when you give the customer a rate. They add a premium for tolls, or like you know, big city premium. Let's say if you need to go to New York City, you know, or in this case Toronto, you know, I will, in the future, I will try to get this to be paid by the broker, because it's very stressful and it takes a long time to go through Toronto, you know, straight on 401. And if I take the toll, it's 112 bucks Canadian, right? 80 bucks. And the worst thing is that when you are loading east of Toronto, so you have to cross the city in the morning and then you come back later, and it's always, you know, heavy traffic. So from now on, I'm gonna use you know, big city premium or heavy traffic premium. Guys, all over the place. Going into my lane. And you might notice that my tablet now uses day colors. And that's another thing I like about internet enabled tablets, is that I always know when the sunrise or sunset happens, right? Because it automatically switches from night colors to day colors, and it just happened like 3 minutes ago. It's 6:57 a.m. and it's 7 now, so officially it's daylight. But unofficially, you still can hardly see anything. It's very difficult driving, and now I have my wipers on high speed. Lots of fun. Now check this out. On the tablet, my track is in the middle, and then on the left here is like everything is blue, right? But then probably 10 kilometers ahead, the blue turns into amber, like yellow, which means slow traffic. And then over here, see on the very, now it's moved, slow down ahead. So it's warning me. Oh, I turned off the speaker, and it says plus, I cannot see, 6 minutes. So it's all red, which means stop traffic, right? And that's what I'm talking about. This is such a big help, you know, especially in when it's raining, when the visibility is not very good. And this is Oshawa, by the way. Oshawa, where GM, General Motors, had a plant. I think they're closing it, or they already closed it, right? So anyway, so now I'm driving. I know up ahead there's a slowdown, and then there's stop traffic. So I'm ready. But all these guys, I'm telling you, like 90% of the people, they don't use this. Like either they don't have anything, or they use GPS, which does not show them traffic conditions. Well, some GPSs do show, right? But that's like a subscription. No, actually, wait. I did have a GPS where it did that. It was giving me traffic updates. So it's time to switch to manual. Basically, I just touch the brake, I cancel the cruise control because the conditions are gonna be, you know, unpredictable. And the right lane here is not a good spot to be because there's guys coming in, especially now it's 7:08 in the morning. People are jumping on the freeway all the time to go, you know, downtown. But yeah, it looks like it's a serious brake check marked in red on my tablet. By the way, 407 is they're saying it's the first toll road which is fully automated. Like there's no attendants, you know. That's why it's also a bit expensive, right? Because there's a lot of, it's very technologically advanced. It's all cameras and transponder readers. Finally. Thank you, Jesus.
In 300 meters, take the Ontario 412 north exit to Ontario 407.
Bye-bye 401 mess.
Take the Ontario 412 north exit. Continue for 7 kilometers.
I don't envy those people. So here it here it's empty. that's it. So now I think, yeah, 5 kilometers or 3 miles, and we're switching to 407, which goes west and east. And then I stay on that one, I think, for like 40 miles, 60 kilometers. Beautiful. So it looks like the slowdown is right before the 412, and it keeps going fast. So that's why I'm taking the toll to avoid this mess. Let's see. Yeah, okay, I can see that. Like probably a couple of kilometers ahead at the top of the hill. And you can see brakes are on. I just don't want anybody to get hurt, you know, especially on this wet pavement. Thank you, Google Maps, for helping me to stay alive. See? Sometimes it is wrong. Like I think once I was driving like this with my flashing lights on and people pass me, look at me like I'm an idiot, and there's nothing. There's no jam. I felt so bad, you know. But that happened only once. All other times when I see this red line, it actually it's true, you know. Because it keeps measuring, right? Because it's all on the internet. It keeps measuring the speed, you know, like other people's speed. I don't know. So I guess other people are using internet-based stuff, because otherwise, how does this know the speed of traffic, right? I think it only knows it when other people are using it for navigation, and it measures their speed. So yeah, like here, if I stay on 401, Google Maps gives me a little hint. If I keep going past 412, it'll take me 1 hour and 1 minute more to reach my destination. Like, this is not a joke, you know. 1 hour, okay, if it's like 10-15 minutes, no, 15 is already too much, but let's say 10, 5, 10, I don't pay attention to that. But when it says 1 hour or 2 hours, you know, that's serious. And so yeah, we're not staying on 401, we're taking that blue line that goes up north, and that's 412. And that's why I want to add a premium for crossing this mess, you know. If I have a choice, you know, I'll try to find a load where I don't have to go east into Toronto. Like, maybe that's something I can load, like London, Ontario, Windsor. Just give me the west. I hate this. Plus 9 minutes. You see, it tells me the slowdown, so it's 9 minutes, which is not too bad. Like, it would be worse if it's like 20 minutes, like the red area. So compared to regular traffic, it's plus 9 minutes. See, this is what I love about this, how handy it is. Like, you don't get that kind of feedback from a regular GPS, because it's all live from the internet. Love it. And a long time ago I decided that that's why I gave up standard GPS units, because I decided that the future would be with internet enabled navigation devices, you know. By the way, in Russia, I asked my brother, how do they call like a GPS unit, you know? And he says navigator, which is a Russian word for pilot, you know, Sturman. My bad. Lotsman, another Russian word, but that's for the sea, like a guide that takes the ship into the port, like a local guy. But you know, if you choose to look at things like positively, like what's the positive about this situation? Well, first of all, it's raining and the lights look pretty. Like, I can see the brake lights reflecting on the wet pavement. You know, as a photographer, as a freelance photographer, to me that's pretty. Yeah, and the next truck will definitely have automatic transmission. I don't care. Oh, but at least the rain is easing up. Oh, and another cool thing with the tablet is, of course, because it's kind of like a smartphone, right? So you can change the brightness of the screen like real easy. Like at night, I keep it very low, but during the day, see, I can increase it. Makes it easier to use. All right, my turn is in 3 kilometers, 2 miles, and we're gonna get away from this mess, and we're gonna go north, and then we jump on 407, which runs parallel to 401. But normally there's no jams in there unless it's like really something really bad. I don't know, some kind of a rock concert or something. But 407 is always, I'm a big fan, even though it's expensive. But you know, like, why would I want to spend 1 hour of my life in this? Well, the lights are pretty, but you know, they're not that pretty. So I'd rather pay $100. And the sign says Brock Street, Whitby. There's a bunch of these small towns here: Oshawa, Whitby, Pickering. Do that. Thank you, Miss Google. You are my favorite gal this morning. The guy has a plate in the front. It's a Ford F-150, and the plate is AHTENTIC. Authentic. And above it says Custom is our standard. Probably some kind of a custom shop or something. Or maybe a construction guy, a builder. Well, 10 more minutes and I can turn off my lights, because it'll be 30 minutes after sunrise. And you see, that's what I meant by curb lane. Like, I'm staying here because I'm taking the next exit, but that's what happens. Like, these guys are just, they're not merging, they're just pushing their way in. There's no gaps between vehicles, you know, they're a constant flow. And that's why, like, these small towns over here, I never drive in the curb lane unless I'm taking, you know, an exit soon, like in this case. Beautiful. Now we have a clean windshield. А я еду за туманом и за запахом тайги. DF470, that's a big mother. Yellow car, Mustang GT, 420 pounds of torque. You know how much torque my Challenger has? 475, which is actually more than what Mustang GT 350 has. And yesterday I saw a video. They were comparing Dodge Challenger 6.4, like my car, with the Mustang GT. Like, why would you compare? Like, Mustang is definitely an inferior vehicle if you look at horsepower and torque, because it's a much smaller engine. It's a 5-liter V8 versus 6.4. No, I'm not going back to the Mustang. Like, the only type of vehicles I have not tried yet, it's SUV. But I don't like them because I don't need all that big bulky, you know, space. I'd rather have like a pickup truck, you know. But I think a sports car, if you don't, you know, if you live near a city, right? Like I don't need the 4x4. I'm on the pavement all the time. Like a sports car, I think for a guy it's a way to go. Unless of course you're, you know, you're fishing or hunting and you're going off-road, or you're a construction guy, or you're pulling a trailer all the time. But I think you know, a sports car is a lot of fun. Oh, and I found another racetrack. It's actually this way, somewhere here in Oshawa, I think. I think it's called Canadian Tire Motor something. But again, it's pretty small. It's pretty much the same lengthwise. It's the same as the one in Cayuga near Buffalo. Like they don't have very much, you know, straights, because my car is pretty heavy, right? So my car is not good for these small, you know, racetracks where you turn all the time, you know. I want to have like an open straight road, but I don't want to do a quarter mile, you know. Give me like a couple of miles like straight so I can go fast. That's what I want to find, you know. I want to find like maybe there's some kind of an old, you know, airport somewhere, or some kind of an event. I know sometimes they do that. They like rent a runway, you know. They rent a runway in at a small airfield, and then they charge people money to come and race. You know, that would be awesome. One right lane blocked at Brock Road. That's what causes this mess. Okay, 1 kilometer to my turn. Come on. Okay, I see that the sign on the right. It says 407, 412. Vehicles over 5 tons must have valid transponder, and we have this over here. So my 407 is over there, my iPass is over there. That one works in the States, most places. Well, all grown-ups know that all good things come to an end. In 2 kilometers I am leaving 407 and jumping back into the mess on 401. Don't lose it, buddy. Keep it between the lines. In front of me is an oversized oversized load on a AGN. I cannot see the make. And here's my exit, 401 West, London. And most local guys in Ontario, I don't know why they like this D sign, but you rarely see, you know, the American sign, oversized load. And now, well, when I'm passing under those towers, you will see my thing beeping here, and there will be a flashing light. Check this out. You see? That means that the toll has been paid. or has been charged to my account. And the guy has 4 axles in the back, and that's another thing that most guys here do. They just have 4 fixed axles, with the last one being an airlift. You see, so his load is pretty light, so he has the last axle up. And this is the 401. So 45 kilometers, roughly 25 miles to my yard. Home sweet home. This guy's here with some, I think that's carpet on his flat. And he works for Mercer. Did you miss me? I forgot how much gas I have. Oh, I have a tank. That's good. Warm up. See how much time it takes, right, to go across Toronto. Now it's almost 9 o'clock. You know? And where's my trailer? I'm trying to find my trailer in the mirror. Don't want to hit the Mercer guy. And I asked him, I said, you know, he's been driving the same Volvo since ever I knew him. Like, we've been here, what, I don't know, 5 years? And he always has the same Volvo and the same flatbed. And I said, do you ever think of, you know, upgrading your truck? He says no. He's kind of like disappointed in trucking. You know, he doesn't want to do it. And I said, you ever thought of maybe getting your own authority so you can make a bit more money? Nah, I'm good. And so he just keeps working as a own operator for Mercer. too close. Yep. I'm gonna drop the suspension. And then I can back a little more. I'm not gonna hook up because I'll need to go get fuel. You see, I'm really low. I'll just drive to a gas station here. There's wow, I can hear my Challenger even from here. See, it took me 3 hours. Wow, 3 hours to do 230 kilometers, which is what, 120 plus 130 miles. All right, so let's go to a coffee shop and start looking for a reload, because if I don't find anything today, Thursday, chances are there won't be anything on Friday. I like that rumble. Very healthy. But that rumble is gonna change, because remember those upgrades I was talking about earlier? I still feel that, I know lots of some of my subscribers will be laughing, but you know that the truth of the matter is that you know, when you do upgrades, right, sometimes you make things worse. But if I don't do anything to this car, like what am I gonna show in videos, right? I wanted to do like more videos about, you know, performance cars, like muscle cars, and so I started doing all these little mods. And so now we have Spin Tech. So now we have Spin Tech, right? And we have no resonators, and we have 3-inch pipes, like axle back exhaust instead of 2 3/4 original, and we have a air raid air intake, and the sound became much better. Like, this is what I want. I want the car to sound like this. But I do feel that these bigger pipes, you know, the bigger pipes, they robbed the car a little bit of torque at low end. And it's okay for, you know, racing car if I was racing all the time, because it definitely, all these mods help with top end, you know, like high RPM. But because it's a street vehicle and I like accelerating even on the racetrack, I'd rather be able to accelerate, you know, fast, as opposed to drive at 300 kilometers an hour and getting there slowly. And so I want to get back the torque. And so since this is I hate these roundabouts, you know, and since this is old school car, right, gonna give it old school mufflers. And I know those mufflers will improve torque because I had them before. I know they work. So basically we're going back to a Flowmaster, but you know, old school, traditional Super 44. I don't know if they will fit. There's not that much space underneath, and they're bigger, like the case is bigger than Spintech. So we'll see, but I ordered them with, you know, I put some thought into it, so it'll be offset inlet and middle outlet, and I think that should work, but we'll see. But again, like I said, the shop is pretty much booked. As soon as I have them, I'm gonna install them. But also another thing I'm gonna do, I ordered a special exhaust tape, you know, that thermal tape that, you know, again, old school guys used to wrap around the exhaust, especially bikes. And what that does is that prevents the turbulence inside your exhaust, right? Like where the gas tries to go back into the engine, and it increases the speed of the exhaust gases, and it drops down the temperature of the engine because now the exhaust evacuates faster. And so I bought like 100 feet of this stuff, and while they'll be installing the new mufflers, I'll ask them to do this because it's a very boring and detailed work, and plus you're going to be covered in all these fibers, and that's what I'm doing. So those two mods, the exhaust wrap and the new mufflers, and we're gonna do a comparison before and after, you know, like Spintech 6000 versus Flowmaster Super 44. It's gonna be interesting, so stay tuned. For now I'm here. It's my favorite Starbucks. Oh, and there, you know what they're doing here? There was some kind of an Irish bar here. Oh, British pub. And they started renovations, and I talked to them, I said, what are you guys doing? Like, what's gonna be here? And they said Kelsey's, like another chain, but I think it's a much better one. I know they have like some nice salads and stuff like that. Let's see, this guy brought some, I think, some kitchen equipment, some fridges maybe. And guys, when you have a nice expensive car, always back into a space. All right. Thanks for watching.